significant purchase in someone's lifetime, and it's a very significant debt that they're taking on. So part of buying your home, part of buying a property and putting a mortgage in place, people also need to think about what happens if something happens to them. So if you have a scenario where husband, wife, couple of young children, they're buying their family home, they're getting a big mortgage in place, a big debt on that estate, and then something happens to your husband dies, wife dies. Now there's a big problem because how are they going to continue to pay that mortgage? So they have to be very conscious to make sure that if something happened to somebody, they have suitable wills in place. They have perhaps other things around that that are going to help their personal financial position if something goes wrong. So we work very closely with mortgage brokers because mortgage brokers will bring us in at the point where people are arranging these mortgages to make sure that they have those sensible measures in place. So when you're starting to look at buy-to-let mortgages, or when you're starting to look at sort of the commercial side behind investing in property, there's a huge need for what we do. Buying property tends to be a really long-term investment. You could buy a buy-to-let property, you could have it for the rest of your life, and then you could pass it on to your children. They could hold it for the rest of their lives. So genuinely buying property could be in the family for hundreds of years. Now, if something happens to you while you're paying, while you have an investment property and you're paying off a mortgage, you need to make sure that those assets are going to go where you want them to go. That's really important to get your will in place. You need to make sure you've appointed the right people to manage those assets. If you die, if you lose mental capacity, that the right people can step in, make financial decisions about those long-term family investments. And again, that's where we would step in. And inheritance tax can be a huge factor here. So when you're investing in buy-to-let property, you need to think long term. You need to think about ultimately how is that going to pass on to your children? What are you going to do about the potentially 40% inheritance tax? Now, when you buy the property, that's the time to make the decision. What's the most effective structure to use to buy that property? If you buy a property, a buy-to-let property in your personal name, you're subject to 40% inheritance tax. If you set up a company and you buy a property in a company, that's an investment company, not a trading company. That's not going to benefit from business relief. And again, that's going to be subject to 40% inheritance tax. So we come in, we work with mortgage brokers, work very closely with mortgage brokers. And when they have clients who are investing in buy-to-let properties, often they will bring us in and introduce us to their client to help the client to understand how they can actually buy investment property in a way that's going to give them what they want during their lifetime, but also make it as effective as possible to pass that investment property on to the next generation.